talk now about Godzilla Minus One, which is the Japanese Godzilla film from last year. That now Toho has made Godzilla films since the 50s, but the one good smart thing they've done is they give Godzilla a rest sometimes. Like you can have a period where a lot of them, and then they don't do them for a while, and they start and stop. So you have the Showa era, the Heisei era, and the Millennium era, and then after the Millennium era was done, they stopped for a long time, and then they did Shin Godzilla, which was a wonderful film, and then they stopped again because there was American films were coming out, but also I think there was a contractual thing, but it was also they actually took the time to actually put together a film that really could be done with some care, so they didn't need to make some explosive extravaganzas. Like, okay, what do we want to do with Godzilla? What's another thing we want to do? So what they do is they go back to the beginning instead of during after World War II, when there's lots of problems. They're just recovering from the war, which they kind of helped start, and so they're viewed as the villains. So, and basically this is taking place from the people on the ground, and the people on the ground suffered a lot more than the people who started the damn thing. So they're the ones who are starving, who have trouble finding jobs, who are just having difficulties. And we take from the point of view, the story's point of view of this soldier, this suicide bomber who faked that his plane had problems, and didn't do the suicide bombing. So he's a suicide bomber who didn't do any suicide bombings. It's just like, okay, we think you may be a coward. So he lands in this airstrip, this temporary airstrip, saying there's a problem with his engine, even though everyone knows there wasn't. Like, the people there, but at that point the war's lost, and everyone knows it. Everyone's just trying to hide out and survive until the war's over, so they can go home and get back on with their lives. Like, no one's want to die for the Emperor at this point. It's like, we know you're a coward, but we don't actually care. But then Godzilla attacks, like a smaller Godzilla attacks, because he's this creature that's a legendary creature in this area that no one believes exists. Well, he attacks this area, and our protagonist has a chance to show himself off as someone who actually can be, brave. And he fails at that again. And most of the people there get killed apart from one mechanic who knows he's a coward and he hates him for it. They get rescued, they go home, and the mechanic disappears, and the lead character now has to live with his shame. During that time, he runs into this woman who's looking after a child. It's not her own child; it's a child that was the parents died. So she was basically a stranger who they asked to look after because they were about to dying, and she does because she has some kindness in her, and he helps her out, and he doesn't want to take care of them, but his own decency gets in the way, and he has to help her. So he's also got a neighbour who knew he was a coward, and she hates him. But then again, she sees him actually do something good for someone else out of the kindness of his heart. So it makes everything complicated, because she hates him because he didn't do his job and her family get wiped out in the war. So she blames him for that, but also the fact is, well, other people are not acting decently after the war and getting crime. He's acting decently and helping these people out. And also he gets a job on a minesweeper, going around destroying these mines. Because he was a pilot, he's a very good aim, so he can actually take them out and knows all about not just aim for what you see on the target, but aim for like wind conditions and how that will affect it, and so he can destroy the mines really fast. And so he's on a boat full of these other people who also were from the war, apart from one younger guy who missed the war because he was too young, and he's too excited for the war, and everyone else is just like, oh, shut up about it. I don't want to know. So they're living their lives. He's starting to become close with these guys. He doesn't tell them his past, but they're becoming close. One of the guys is an ex-scientist, And this is when Godzilla returns. And Godzilla has been hit by nuclear radiation during this point, and he has grown quite a bit. And he's basically a creature. You know, to him, human beings are simply food. Or flies to swat away. Every so often we annoy him when he becomes malicious, but generally Godzilla basically just sees as non-existent, like the way we see cattle. You know, that's it to him. He does not care. So of course, the people have to fight him. They have to find a way to fight him. And the Americans aren't going to help them because what they did to Pearl Harbor. The Americans are going to limit what weapons they can use. So and the authorities are useless. So it becomes a thing of the actual working class have to actually, the people who deal with boats have to deal with what's left of the Navy and the few people in the Navy who will help out. And they have to try and find a way to destroy Godzilla. And Godzilla at this point attacks Tokyo, because of course he does, and wipes it out in a brutal scene. And he's territorial, so he's going to come back and do it again, and they have to find ways to deal with him. And the scientist guy from the boat actually becomes important because he's a guy who can bring all these different people together with different skills. So it becomes almost like the working class versus Godzilla, and that's where the strength of the film comes from. Because it's not the slick military army doing it. It's the people who are going to suffer most, the people who have more to lose, because they're the ones who don't get protection from the army in the first place. They're the ones who are at the water side, who are going to get killed first by Godzilla. And this is where our lead character actually starts to see beyond his own survival that's kept him back in the past, and actually become less selfish and actually be willing to give him's life up. But it's a slow process. I'm trying to get through his shame of what he did in the past, and also trying to go to find this engineer guy to help him work this plan out to kill Godzilla. So it's about him slowly doing it. It's not like he has a major jump. Oh, I should be brave now. You can see the pain of his shame and slow build to him wanting to give his life up for other people, and the fact that he's basically got a daughter now that he has to protect, and he has other people to protect, and he slowly becomes a person willing to make that sacrifice. But it's a slow, painful process because he does feel genuine pain for his mistakes, and that's what makes it engaging. You like all the characters. No one's in it for glory. Everyone's in it to actually stop damage happening. And Godzilla's just based on an animal who sees us as animals. He's just hunting people because they're food. That's it. And he destroys cities because they're his territory, and you can see them as potential enemies, so destroy them. But Godzilla is a fairly brutal creature in this film, and he's pretty wonderfully done. This was a pretty low budget film. This was not it had a very limited effects crew, and yes, there's a few effects here or there that aren't the best, but for a $50 million budget, it does a pretty amazing work. The fact that these effects look so much better than the Marvels, which cost, I don't know how many times more than this, but, you know, at least 10 times more, if not 15 times more than this film. And these effects look better, and the story's better. And it's just the sense of what the film is, and the sense of the film being about the survival of people. It brings it back to what the original film was. The original film literally was like, how do you stop Godzilla from destroying everything? And it becomes a metaphor for the damage caused to Japan during the war, which was a retaliation for their own actions. So in the film, it's the Japanese terror of what they've done coming back to haunt them, and that's what this film gets as well. They can understand they had this. The leadership made sure they had this coming, and they feel it, but they're going to make sure they try and survive as well, which makes it much more braver, much more human. So it's not about smug patriotism or hero worship stuff. It's about survival, about people who have a lot to lose, and they understand their past and its complications, and it's not just a simplistic thing. at all. So even though the actions are taken is to kill Godzilla, is a basic simple kill the monster, the emotions around it are treated with more complexity and more respect. And the fact is they've also pointed out that a lot of Japanese people were victims of their own government. You know, and there's not every Japanese person who's behind the actions of the government. There were a lot in that culture who did shameful things, but it wasn't everybody. And a lot of people kind of got stuck with the consequences of what the Japanese did and what the system of beliefs did and what they did in the name of their beliefs of what they should do within the world. So it was like there was a sense of shame which the country felt that comes through this as well. This is a wonderful film. Surprised everyone could not expect a Godzilla film to be this good and this serious. And it came out at a time where there'd been a lot of films that had not worked, and this film just works. So go see it, it's wonderful. So hope you enjoyed this video. I'll be back soon with some more. Right, bye for now.